Don't solve for 30 years from now, solve for Tuesday morning.
Yep.
What do you want to be doing on a Tuesday morning? But what if it does work out? And you have to switch your mindset to stop thinking about what could go wrong and start thinking about what could go. Because once you start putting yourself in that position, you start actually taking action. And that's when the wheels start moving and momentum is built.
Welcome to Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. I'm James Short, and this show dives into the real stories behind the agents and the leaders shaping our industry. No polished highlight reels, just honest conversations about what's working, what's not, and how they're building businesses that actually grow. Each episode, I sit down with someone in the trenches, top performers, rising leaders, business owners who've cracked the code and others still figuring it out. We unpack the wins, the failures, the habits, and the lessons you can put to work straight away. Before we dive in, can I ask a favor? And please subscribe or follow on the platform you're listening or watching this. The more we grow, the bigger impact we can have together. And thank you. Let's get started. Welcome back to another edition of Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. We are so fortunate to have an amazing guest all the way from Maui. Mike Neubauer is a retired Maui firefighter, master photographer, and real estate investor who traded 24-hour shifts and burning buildings for financial freedom and front row seat to his son's childhood. He didn't grow up around money or business, but he knew he didn't want to spend the next 20 years asking permission to take a vacation. While still on the job, Mike started investing in short-term rentals with his wife, Caroline. They scraped, learned, failed forward, and hit their first freedom milestone in under 5 years. Absolutely incredible. Today, they've built a real estate portfolio that spans multiple states and strategies, including STRs, MTRs, LTRs, development, lending, and syndications, which we're all going to unpack in this episode. He hosts the Our Family Invests podcast. Go and check it out. I was watching it a little while ago. Some great interviews there where he gets real with entrepreneur couples about what it takes to grow your wealth without blowing up your relationship or losing your peace. Oh, so needed. He's a storyteller at heart, a systems guy by necessity, and a big believer in building a life that you don't want to retire from. Love it. His business name is Our Family Invests. So go and check out this podcast on the website, which is ourfamilyinvests.com. Mike, honor and a privilege to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, James. It's an honor to be here.
Amazing. So Maui, oh my gosh. So born and raised, lived there. How long you been there for now?
Yeah, good question. Not born and raised, born in Chicago, been here about 25 years. So it feels like I was raised here because I did most of my maturing in the later half of my life, but no, not originally from Maui.
Gotcha. And so firefighting, was the first sort of job after college or school? What's that journey been like?
I've had the most typical journey that everybody goes through. I'm sure everyone on your show says the same thing. Art school, of course.
Yep.
And then travel the world and then land on a beautiful island and start becoming a firefighter out here. And then somehow start investing in short-term rentals. So typical story. Again, nothing special here.
What was that turning point in your mind when you had that realization of, I've got to do something different. I've got to look at the future. I've got to start investing. What was that pivotal point in your time, or was it just over time?
I think the thing for me, James, and that's a great question, is most of us that are entrepreneurial have always been entrepreneurial, right? So it's always one thing to the next. Like when I was in college, I went to the Art Institute of Colorado. And my thing was like, I was really good at design and branding and all that kind of stuff. And I got offered a lot of jobs, but I was always that guy that's, nope, I just want to do my own thing. And I'm going to design album covers for musicians. That's what I'm going to do, right? Because that's what I want to do. And if I didn't make it, I didn't make it. And guess what? I didn't make it. But I just turned up to the next thing. And what was the next thing? I'm going to do landscape photography. I started doing that and I started shooting for different publications and things like that. And it was on my own dime. So I got to travel the world. I got to see a lot of cool stuff, but there was no real money in that. And it was a passion and I liked it, but it was almost getting sucked out of me too, because now it was like, well, I have to perform for the clients, not for myself. So I pulled back from doing a lot of that and just for doing it for myself. Very little money there. And so one of my clients that I was working with doing some branding and identity work was a group of firefighters out here in Hawaii. And they're like, dude, take the fire department test. You work 10 days a month. You've got 20 days off. You get a stable paycheck. You can do whatever you want. You get your insurance. Okay, that sounds interesting. And at this point, I'm not making any money, right? So I took the test and the doors kept opening and I kept walking through. But at the end of the day, like I knew it wasn't who I was. I still wanted to do my own thing. I was living for the 20 days off a month, not for the 10 days that I was there. Now, I enjoyed everything about being a firefighter. It was great, except responding to authorities. I'm not real good with authority. And I like to do my own thing. And there's a call, that's cool, but I'm reading a book right now. So like their schedule didn't really work with mine, and mine didn't really work with them. As much as I loved it, and I loved my time there, and I made a lot of great friends, I knew that I'm not built to do this until I'm 65 anyway, or 75, or however long you got to be in that. I knew I had to find another way. So I had started creating books, photography books that I sold through Amazon and whatnot. And so there was a little bit of passive income there, but I met a senior firefighter to me at one of the stations that I had worked at who was investing in real estate. And I said, what is this real estate? And so he started telling me like, yeah, I have these short-term rentals and they do so well. There's so much work and it's such a headache and all that. I was like, but go back to the part where you're making money. Like, how much money are we talking? And so he showed me all this data and he kind of lit this fire underneath me that was like, whoa. And the fire station that we were at was right next to a library. So I was always at the library. I read every book I could. I got on every podcast that I could consume. I networked with as many people as I possibly could until I learned, right? And I kept him as a mentor. And I said, look, what you're doing is great, but I can see the flaws in what you're doing is you're only dipping your toe in. What if you went all the way in? And so that's what I did. And so we started doubling down on everything that we started making money off of. And we got to the point probably within 2.5 years where my income from short-term rentals was matching my income at the fire department.
Wow.
And so at that point, it was like, all right, I'm 7.5 years in. I'm going to go until I get 10 years in because then I get a pension and I get all this stuff and I can move all that into a solo 401k and then invest that into real estate and let's go hard. So that was our path getting started.
Wow.
Sorry for that long.
No, that's a beautiful journey. There's so many gold nuggets in that. Like one, the entrepreneurial spirit of, yeah, I'll do it on my terms. When I'm locked in, I will go all in, like going to the library, reading all the books, all the podcasts and so forth. That is the true entrepreneurial spirit, I believe. And then having a mentor to actually go through and ask those questions and bounce ideas and look where you can follow the footpath and maybe level up that. So there's some great snippets from that. Then looking at that 2.5 year process where you started to replace that income, what lit the fire there of what you could actually create? How did you go then to that next level?
Yeah, I think when we got into it, the plan was always, all right, let's use real estate as that vehicle, right? To live the life that we want to live. And what does the life that we want to live actually look like? So we took a minute and we started really figuring that out. And then once we got that, we looked at every different asset class and I put it on like almost like a timeline. And I call it this scale of passivity. So at one end, you've got extremely passive stuff like investing in syndications and stuff like that, right? And then on the other end, you've got like flips and development and stuff. You've got to be in there all day, every day. And so for me, short-term rentals was that sweet spot because yeah, there's work involved in it, but you still own the asset and it's really good returns. And so in a market like Maui, where we've seen crazy appreciation, it knocked every box, right? So we started with that, but we always had the intention to move from active to passive. Right. And so now we're at a state where everything we have is passive and we don't make as much money as we used to. But I turn my phone off at 5 o'clock every night. I don't turn it on again until 8 o'clock in the morning. And I spend that time with my family every single day. I never miss a dinner, right? And that the value in that is so much more than the money that I could have been making to me.
Priceless, absolutely priceless. Exactly. And you never get those hours back. I was talking with my wife the other day. Our second child just graduated from school. Oh, like looking at back in that time, it's just such a beautiful, and like yourself, being there of those special moments and being there for the graduation, being on all the school carnivals and everything like that else. That's the flexibility that it does really give you. Looking back on that journey, is there anything that you may have done differently?
I think it took a while to join a mastermind group, get in a room with people that were smarter than I was. And I didn't really see the value in that until I got into that room. And thankfully, I was invited into that room because I don't think that I would have paid the money to get into that room, so to speak. But once I was there, I understood why people spent that kind of money. And we started trying to get into every room that we could.
Love it. Love it.
So I
And
would
so
have done that.
So thinking if someone's got this inclination of, I need to do something different, I need to look at the next 5, 10, 15 years, what would be maybe one or two pieces of advice that you would give them to start this journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I hate saying that it depends, of course, but I think that the first thing I would say is really figure out what you want, right? What you want out of life, what you want out of your day to day. Don't solve for 30 years from now, solve for Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
What do you want to be doing on a Tuesday morning? And if you can figure that out, then a lot of things start falling in place. And so for us, it was never about having 100 doors or making $100,000 a month or anything like that. It was about, okay, how can I get to dropping my kid off to school and watching him when he's 6 years old until he's 18 years old and being there for those moments? How can I get to that without having to go to work? Being present. So those were the big things. And so we don't have a huge portfolio, but what we do have is we have the time. And that was more important than the money for us. Now, I may change my mind on that down the road somewhere, but right now that time is priceless.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that is so true because you don't get those moments or those time back. And that's the one most thing that's, I guess there's no price you can put on time, that's for sure. You've
Yeah.
had some amazing guests on your podcast. And if you think about all the guests that you've had, what are some of the common themes that you find when you interview these guests?
That's a great question. I would say the most successful guests are not waiting to take action. They take action, they jump out of the plane, they figure out how to build the parachute on the way down. And that is just recurring time and time again. And I am not great at that. Like I would be the guy I need to know the mechanics and the engineering and the physics and all this stuff before I do that. And meanwhile, the plane is without a pilot and crashing into a cliff. So I need work on that. But yeah, I would say the most of the guests that we've had that have been really successful, they go and they do big, bold things a lot of times without knowing how it's going to turn out.
Fantastic. And so when you're talking to people, when you may be interviewing them or just people are asking you for questions, where do most people get stuck from starting?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that analysis paralysis like I'm talking about. And for me too, right? When we got started, it was a lot of let's look at the data. And I will show you, we had this spreadsheet that is this big and it had every possible scenario on it of how we can lose and one little one of how we could win. Right. And so it takes a long time looking at that. And why would we ever do this? Because there are 90 ways we can lose and there's one way we can win. But what if it does work out? And you have to switch your mindset to stop thinking about what could go wrong and start thinking about what could go. Because once you start putting yourself in that position, you start actually taking action. And that's when the wheels start moving and momentum is built.
I love that. It's just that it's such a mindset switch, isn't it? Where it's like, depends on where you want to focus. Yes, you got to do the due diligence and look at the risk profile, but at the same time, it's just, let's just go. Let's just work as we go. If it doesn't work, then we know what we can do differently. So it's just taking that action and moving forward. Fantastic. What's coming up for you guys? What's on the horizon? What are some of the things that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited to be working on more projects that are lifestyle plays. And we buy properties in areas that we want to visit or we want to live or things like that. And so we've got one in the works. We're building a luxury glamping resort outside of Zion National Park with some partners. So I'm excited for that. We're also building a single family home that will double as there will be a rental unit within it, but there will also create our dream house around it. And so it'll technically be an investment property, but it may be one that we spend 6 months out of the year in too. Yeah, that's up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is a beautiful place.
I love that working with your lifestyle. It's truly passionate for me. We're rolling out our new program over into the US, and because my daughter's looking to go to college over in the US for basketball. So it's okay, cool. What are the states that she may be going? Let's focus
Yeah,
on those different areas so we can roll out that program.
100%. Yes, that's
So good.
how.
So
I
good.
love it.
So good. Now, Mike, on our show, we have our 60-second quiz to find out a little bit more personal items around our guests. Are you willing to play?
Sure, let's go.
Cool. All right. Favorite food?
Sushi,
Love it. Favorite holiday destination?
New Zealand,
Ooh, favorite movie?
Godfather.
Which one? Original?
I'm gonna go with the first one since it kicked out off the rest of them.
Fantastic. Biggest regret?
Not starting sooner.
If you could choose five people to have dinner with, they could be dead or alive, who would they be?
That's a great question. Jesus, the Buddha, Ozzy Osbourne, Michael Franti, and my wife.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What's your biggest lesson that you could share?
Ooh, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that everyone has self-doubts and no one sees them as much as you do. So get out of your own way and get going.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Do you have a most embarrassing moment?
Gosh, I have those every day, I feel like. Anytime I'm with my son, he's probably embarrassed. But thankfully, I have a pretty short-term memory and can't think of a lot of them. I can think of one moment in high school where I was trying to impress a girl and I had a pen that I was chewing on and it exploded all over my face. So I'm gonna go with that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. If you were president for you guys for a day, what's one thing that you would change?
Oh man, I don't think there's a whole lot you could change in a day, but if I could, I would take away capital gains on primary residences.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And what's the most exciting thing you're looking forward to in the next 12 months?
Building our house in Coeur d'Alene.
Beautiful. And where can the guests find out, where can the audience find out more information on the podcast, the website, things like that?
Yeah, we're at ourfamilyinvests.com and on social media at the same handle, Our Family Invests.
Fantastic. Mike, really honor and a privilege to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, go and check out the podcast. Absolutely amazing. Some great interviews there, some great insights and some great lessons. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, James. Appreciate you.